In this video, you'll learn about food safety and HACCP and how they relate to transporting refrigerated cargoes. We'll discuss temperature management, food safety and the food chain, HACCP, food handling and processing, and preventive actions. Of all the factors that affect food quality, temperature is the most significant, and therefore must be properly managed. However, even when properly managed, temperature control alone cannot compensate for poor operating practices, procedures, or physical damage to the cargo. Every temperature-sensitive product has its own ideal temperature that it must be kept at in order to preserve its quality and maximize its shelf life. If not properly maintained, food quality will be compromised and deterioration and/or spoilage will occur. However, there's much more to maintaining food quality than temperature management alone. Food safety is also a very important factor. Simply put, food safety is ensuring that food is safe to eat. Preventive measures help ensure food is harvested, processed, transported, and prepared properly before it's consumed. Food safety concerns exist in every step of the food chain. This chain is the entire series of events foods go through from their initial point of origin to the final point of consumption. Transportation plays a significant role in every step in the chain. Therefore, everything possible must be done to ensure food remains safe in each and every step. Every organization in the chain has responsibilities and exposure to risk, including cargo damage, spoilage, contamination, and possible consumer health issues. These risks provide the potential for legal responsibility. As a result, it's important to understand the three food safety categories, which are the food itself, people, facilities, equipment, and sanitation. Security, although technically not a food safety category, also plays an important role in food safety related activities. The first category, the food itself, involves things that occur naturally in raw food, such as natural contaminants and organisms, and their potential to spread. Recontamination after harvest is also a potential issue associated with the way food is processed and handled, and can also distribute contaminants. The second category is people. When working with food, personal hygiene is very important. People must wash their hands often with appropriate cleansing solutions and wear protective clothing to help prevent contaminant distribution. People can also be carriers of common diseases and can spread those diseases to others, either directly or indirectly. As a result, it's important that all health-related employment policies are adhered to and enforced to minimize contamination risks. The third category is the environment, facilities, and equipment that food is exposed to. Waterborne and airborne contaminants can enter the food chain from the environment. Improper or incomplete cleaning and/or sanitizing practices can also allow contaminants to spread. Food preparation work surfaces, floors, utensils, cleaning tools, and transportation vehicles can sustain harmful organisms and contaminants for long periods of time if not properly cleaned and sanitized. Equipment maintenance, therefore, is also an important part of food safety, and if not properly and regularly performed, can allow contaminants to be distributed. As previously mentioned, security, although technically not a food safety category, is playing an increasingly more important role in helping to keep food safe. Keeping food in secure areas helps prevent unauthorized access and potential food tampering. Regardless of what part of the food chain you're involved with, the best way to manage the risk is to understand, develop, and implement a HACCP program into your daily operations. HACCP stands for Hazard, Analysis, and Critical Control Point. It's a scientific approach to preventing contamination hazards in food and potential foodborne illnesses that can result. In 1993, the United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, adopted this approach to help control, reduce, and prevent pathogens or contaminant organisms in meat, poultry, and other food products that can carry bacteria, which can cause foodborne illness or death. HACCP is based on 7 principles. The first principle, analyzing hazards, is associated with biological, chemical, and physical contaminants. The second principle, critical control point, is associated with the identification of critical points in the food's life cycle, beginning with raw materials, or raw state, all the way through processing, transportation, and preparation. Principle 3 is establishing preventive measures, with critical limits or tolerances for each individual control point. Principle 4 is establishing procedures to monitor each critical control point. Principle 5 is establishing corrective actions to be taken when monitoring shows the critical limits have not been met. Principle 6 is to establish procedures to verify the system is working properly. A good example of this is time and temperature recording devices, such as those found on many transport refrigeration units. These data recorders may either be standard or an add-on option. The seventh principle is establishing and maintaining an effective record-keeping system to document HACCP program adherence. Another aspect of HACCP is the pathogen reduction rule that became law in 1996. To understand it, however, you need to know what a pathogen is. A pathogen is any virus, microorganism, or substance that causes disease or acts as an infecting agent. The pathogen reduction rule is based on sound science and focuses on identifying and preventing food contamination hazards. It also places responsibility on food manufacturers, distributors, and transporters for ensuring the food they produce and distribute remains safe throughout its journey to the consumer. It also provides a means of ensuring that companies develop and implement appropriate food safety-related procedures into their operations. The implementation and monitoring of HACCP programs not only helps protect consumers, but also helps companies in the food chain compete more effectively. In 1997, approximately a year after the pathogen reduction rule became law, meat and poultry production facilities were required to implement preventive measures, including the Standard Sanitation Operation Procedures, or SSOP, to ensure food preparation areas and equipment were properly cleaned and sanitized. Beginning in 1998, large production facilities had to begin implementing HACCP programs. Medium-sized plants were required to begin implementing them in 1999. And in the year 2000, very small plants were required to begin implementing them into their operations. In 2001, verification procedures began as a means of confirming food production facilities did in fact have HACCP programs and that they are both actively used and in compliance. Record keeping, a HACCP principle and an important part of the verification process, lets investigators see how well food chain participants are complying with food safety laws. The nature and extent of foodborne illness in the United States is significant. In an October 2001 report, the Federal Department of Agriculture, or FDA, and the USDA estimated that there are between 24 and 81 million foodborne illness cases per year, at an annual cost of $7 to $23 billion. The physical effects of these illnesses range from discomfort to death. 80% of the cases were due to personal hygiene and sanitation problems, and 98% of the cases were preventable if safe handling practices had been used. So, as you can see, there's much more to maintaining food quality than temperature management alone. Food handling, processing, and transportation, if not properly managed, can result in food poisoning caused by a variety of different sources, such as bacteria, parasites, viruses, and chemicals. So what preventive actions can be taken to minimize your risk? You can understand and adhere to food safety regulations. Establish a HACCP program in your organization. Analyze the hazards. Identify the critical control points and establish preventive measures with critical limits for each control point. Establish procedures to monitor the critical control points and corrective actions to be taken when the monitoring shows critical limits have not been met. Also, establish procedures to verify your system is working properly. And last but not least, establish an effective record-keeping system to document your company's adherence to HACCP rules and regulations. Doing so will help ensure you consistently deliver safe, high-quality food to your customers time and time again.